So today we're going to be working on our AI generated game, and we are making the game called Pong. If you've been following, you'll know that we have been using ChatGPT to generate most of our code, which is working. It's working fine, but the thing I don't like about it is we haven't really been making it in like good practice. So we need to go and change things up and tidy it up a lot. So that's what we're going to be doing in today's episode. We're not really going to be changing any of the, actually that's a lie, we are going to be changing the code, but we're not going to be changing it. We're just going to be relocating it into different scripts and setting it out so that it works properly. So for example, if we jump into the game, you can see that here we have two out of bounds zones, one on each side, but they both have the out of bounds script attached to them. And on these out of bounds zones, we actually handle the UI of the game, which is not what we want to do. So that's what we're going to go and sort out today, and then maybe a bunch of other stuff that we might come across later on in the episode. But for now, let's go and start by clearing up this out of bounds zone. So what the game does is, I don't really know how far we got in the previous episode. I think the game works, but when the ball goes, so we got up to the part where we spawn a new ball in, but we haven't gotten to the part where we go and make that new ball start moving again. So we'll do that in the next episode. But today we need to go and clean it up. So let's start that by adding in an empty object here, and this is going to be called our UI manager. So on this game object, we're going to add in a new UI manager script, and then in the script, this is where we're going to handle what happens to our scores. So let's go and open that up. Did it create it? What? Create? Okay, I don't know what it did there. Maybe that's my mistake. Okay, so it did do it properly. So let's open this up, edit the script. And then in here, this is where we are going to go to our out of bounds zone, and we are simply going to get rid of this and cut that out and paste that into here. Also, we're not going to be using ChatGPT to do this, because if we did, then it would just be here forever, and we'll be typing sentences to try and get ChatGPT to generate all the code for us, whereas since we're not really changing the code but just relocating it, we are going to ask ChatGPT to do it. So let's go and save that, and then in our UI manager here, okay, first of all, in our out of bounds zone here, this is where we are going to change the score. So what we can do is we can get rid of these two lines, this one and this one, because they do the same thing. And we can go into our UI manager here, and simply in our update method, we can actually let's go get rid of them. So we'll cut that out, and then we will cut that one out as well, like that. Save that, and then we'll have to add something into there so that we can tell it to increase the score. So we'll paste those both into our update method here. So this is going to be okay, so we need to generate these two. So now that we still have a global class that we never used, we're going to go and use it now. So in here, we are going to go back to our out of bounds zone, and we're going to get rid of these like that. And then in our global class, we are going to paste them in there, and let's go make them static. And then the same thing for this one. So that should allow us to access them from our UI manager. So in here, we can just go and say global.player1 score, and the same thing, global.player2 score. Because we don't have access to these, we need to go and import that using I think it's text mesh Pro. Yeah, there you go, text mesh pro, like that. So that should be fine. We can get rid of the start method because we don't really need that. And then if we go back to our out of bounds zone here, we can simply go and say global.player2 score and global.player1 score. So having done that now, adding in the global class, we don't really need to call another method for us to add one to the score, because it will add one to the global player 1 score integer, and the same thing for the player 2 global integer score. And then because this in the UI manager we put it in the update method here, it's going to update every frame, so it's going to look for the change, and whenever it changes automatically it should reference that in the actual game. So having said that, let's go and see if it works. So in our Unity editor here, we can go and play the game and see what it's like. So hopefully we don't have to do too much debugging in this episode, because that would be annoying, but let's see. So okay, so now on our outer bound zone, we no longer have the references to these UI elements here, which is good, that's what we want. But on our UI manager, we need to go and drag and drop them in there. So on our canvas, we have our player 1 score, which we can drag into player 1 there, and the same thing for player 2, we can drag that in. So let's go play the game now and let's see what happens. So that should go there, which updates that score. That's correct. So that's working, which is nice. Do you have any errors? Out of bounds zone. Okay, so line 48 is weird because we don't have line 48. Oh, wrong script. Pong ball line 48, which is this one. Okay, so that's to do with the ball, so we haven't got there yet, so we'll do that in the next episode. So what else do we want to change? So on our not on our canvas, on our out of bounds zone, we have this reference to a ball prefab, which there's nothing in it. So let's go to our out of bounds zone and see. If we just comment that out, we'll see where we're using it. So that's over here. So whenever the ball goes into the out of bounds region, or it collides with that collider, it's going to go and generate a new ball. So what we can do, or at least what we can try and do, is go to our we can probably make a new script called instantiate ball, and then we can, let's go do that. So we can make a new empty object here. So let's create empty and make this a game manager. So this is where we can add a whole bunch of scripts onto it. So on here we can go and say, what do we want to call it? Let's just call it instantiate ball. Actually, let's call it ball manager, just because it's easier. So we'll create that and add that. And then in that script, whenever it gets generated, we can move everything that we use in the out of bounds region, out of bounds script. We can relocate that from that script and put that into our ball manager script, where it will generate a new ball and put it into the scene for us. So we'll cut that out, and then okay, hold on. We will probably need to do all of this, so we can get rid of that and then cut all of that out, because we'll need all of that. And then we can open up that script, which is over here, and paste that in here. So now we need to go back to our Pong ball, where it was an out of bounds zone. So in here we can get rid of all of this and paste that into here as well. So that goes in there. And then the only thing that we do need in this script is a line to increase the score, as well as a line to destroy the ball. But we also need to call the method that we are going to use, or method that we're going to generate in our ball manager script, to instantiate a new ball. So what we do need to do is, because these 3 lines of code here are the same as these ones, we can go and get rid of them. Let's just see if they are. Okay, transform, position, identity, ball instance. Yeah, so I think they're exactly the same. So we can go get rid of those and then cut that out. And then in here we can go and say public void instantiate ball, and we can go and paste that in there. We'll need to get a reference for that as well, but for now, private voids. Okay, so we already have our start method. So actually, let's just go and get rid of that one, because I think we copied this from the other script, so that's fine. So now what we can do in here is we will need to get a reference to our ball manager script. So we can go and say, what is it going to be? A serialized field. This is going to be a private, what is it? Private game object. This is going to be called ball manager. Like that, and then we also need a private ball manager script, and that will be called ball manager script, like that. So we'll save that, and then over here, actually, am I doing this? Yeah, we're doing this in the right class. So in underneath, when we go and get rid of our ball, sorry, after we've got rid of it, we need to go and create a new one. So here we can go and say ball manager script dot, what is it called? Instantiate ball. So that is going to be dot instantiate ball, like that. So that should be fine, but we also need to call that in this if statement. So whenever the ball gets destroyed, no matter what out of bounds region it collides with, it's going to go ahead and what's it called? It's going to go ahead and instantiate a new one. So that should be fine. What we can do is we can go and get rid of this as well. And I think we can paste that in here just so we don't have to reference it. So that error should disappear. So that's fine. What else do we need to do? We need to... I don't think we need to do anything over there. And then what we do need to do is in our out of bounds zone, we need to go and get our start method back. So let's bring that back like that. And then for our ball manager script, we need to go and say ball manager script is equal to our ball manager dot get component. And then we're going to get the ball manager script off of that by simply doing that. And then the last thing we need to do, I think, is in the editor here on our ball manager script, we should have some references now when it rebuilds itself, so that we can drag in our ball manager, I believe. Okay, so ball manager, hold on. That's wrong. Ball manager is... Sorry, that needs to be on... First of all, we can go and drag that in there because we'll use that later, but I'm in the wrong place. On our out of bounds zone, I'm trying to think, trying to think of a way where we can not have two out of bounds game objects, but I don't think that's possible. So for now, we'll just go and leave it like that. So we'll drag in our... I'm going to rename this to ball manager just so that it makes sense, because we don't really need a game manager. So this is going to be our ball manager. And then on our out of bounds zones, we can go and add that into there. So that should work, but who knows if it does. So let's see what else. We've done our ball manager. I don't think we need our update method, so we can get rid of that. What else do we need? Our global is fine. we only have our 2 scores in that class. Our UI manager is fine. Our out of bounds zone we've done. I think, can't remember if we need to do anything, but when we play the game, we'll see what comes up. Our goal is fine. I can't remember what this does. On trigger, enter 2D. I think that was the first time we tried to deal with our collision, but we could probably go and delete that. So ball color, that's fine. Pong ball, let's see if we can do anything in here. So in this script, all we do is we get the starting position so that when we do instantiate a new ball, we can go and assign that to the same position where the ball that the game started, and then we get the component, the rigid body component on it. Then we add some velocity to it, and then when anything collides with it, if it's a wall, it goes and bounces off, and if it's the paddles, it moves the opposite direction. Okay, so that looks fine. And then our paddle, that just handles the movement of the paddle. Okay, so let's go see what's happening in the editor and if we need to change anything or not. So we should be okay, but you never know. When you start moving around code, a large amount of code in your project, things always go wrong. So move right is assigned but never used. Let's see. Pong ball. Move right. Okay, so we can go and get rid of. What do you mean it's not never used? It's right there. It is used. You know, we will leave it like that. So that should be fine, because no, we can't do that because we do edit it down here. So we'll just leave it how it is. And then we'll go play the game and then see what errors come up, because there's bound to be an error that comes up. So let's see what's happening. So, so it works. So that's good. So everything seems to be working how we wanted it to, which is great. Let's just see if we can move the paddle. So the right paddle moves using the arrow keys, and the left paddle moves using the W and S keys, which is perfect. So that went a lot smoother than I thought it would. This here is again that adding velocity to the ball, I think, which is this line over here. So we need to go and sort that out in the next episode, which we will do if we can figure it out. But that is pretty much it for today's episode. That was just a tidy up episode of the game. You don't have to do that to your project, but I would suggest you do, just to make it more like better practice. And obviously you want to keep your project or your game in good shape, and you don't really want to have terrible coding practices. I don't know where I'm going with that, but anyway, just keep your games tidy and good practice is what I'm trying to say. But that's pretty much it for today's episode. So if you enjoyed that, go ahead and like the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed already, because next week we are going to try and try and get back to our slab stacky game, because we need to get back to that. But actually, let me give you an update on that, because that video was supposed to come out on Tuesday last week, but let me show you what's happening here. So this is the problem that we are having, and I know where the problem is. I just have not figured out how to solve it yet. So what we have is, in our game, we have this error where when we click on the game, the slab is supposed to stop, but because the when we go at, where is it? In our code here, when we go and enable the game, or when the game starts up and this method is called, it assigns the previous slab, which is our initial cube here, as the starting cube, and then it assigns our moving cube, which is this one, the red one, small red one, as this script that's attached to it, so which is correct. But then over here, when you try and stop the moving slab, it's no longer signed the way we wanted to. And I tested that by just printing out debug.log to the console. And as soon as we get to this point here, it no longer has a speed, and the speed is already set to 0 because it is referencing the actual cube, which is already stationary. So we need to try and figure out why that is happening and how I can fix that. So as soon as I can fix that and figure out why it's doing that, we'll get back to that game and try and finish it once and for all, because I'm getting annoyed with this game because it's taking forever to finish. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in tomorrow's episode or whenever the next one is coming out. So goodbye.